Today, we journey to the beating heart of Southeast Asia to witness the rise of an absolute cultural phenomenon. A boy who left a small, quiet province with nothing but a computer and a dream, and ended up rewiring the DNA of Vietnamese pop music. The undisputed king of V-pop, Sơn Tùng M-TP. Hope you enjoy. Every country has its pop stars. Beautiful faces that sing catchy hooks, dance on neon stages, and fade away when the next trend arrives. But rarely, very rarely, a nation produces an artist who transcends the music itself. An artist who becomes a mirror for an entire generation's shifting identity, a symbol of national pride, and a lightning rod for both obsessive worship and fierce controversy. To the global audience, he is the sleek, hyper-stylish icon who broke YouTube records and collaborated with American rap royalty like Snoop Dogg. But behind the blinding flashbulbs, the sold-out stadium tours, and the flawless Gucci wardrobe lies the story of a deeply private, intensely stubborn young man named Nguyen Thanh Tung, a boy who had to combat an entire industry, institutional skepticism, and crushing psychological isolation just to prove that Vietnam could stand on the global cultural stage. This is not a story about clean, effortless stardom. It is a cinematic, often painful saga of creative survival, vicious media warfare, and the terrifying weight of carrying the dreams of 90 million people on your shoulders. This is the untamed journey of Sơn Tùng M-TP. Long before he was a monolithic brand, he was simply Tung. Our story begins in July of 1994 in Thai Binh, a northern province of Vietnam defined by its vast, peaceful rice fields and quiet, traditional rhythm of life. Tung's family was modest but steeped in the arts. His mother was a traditional dancer in the city's official performance group and a performer in the local Chay theater, while his father possessed the rare talent of playing 7 different musical instruments. Music was the background noise of his childhood house, drifting through the rooms like smoke. By the age of 2, his family noticed something strange. While other toddlers were barely forming sentences, young Tung was replicating complex vocal melodies with uncanny precision. At 8 years old, he officially joined the Thai Binh Children's Arts and Culture Palace, where his fingers first touched the plastic keys of an electronic keyboard. But as the boy grew older, a deep generational fracture opened in the household. His parents loved music as a hobby, but they feared it as a profession. In a rapidly developing Vietnam, security was everything. His father wanted a practical, stable future for his son. He wanted Tung to study business in college, to wear a suit, to step into a life of predictable comfort. To his parents, the entertainment industry was a dangerous, volatile swamp that devoured young souls. But Tung couldn't stop the music in his head. The quiet streets of Thai Binh felt increasingly small. By the late 2000s, a digital revolution was sweeping across Vietnam. Internet cafes, thick with the smell of cheap tobacco and glowing with cathode ray tube monitors, became the underground sanctuaries for the country's youth. It was here that Tung discovered international hip-hop and R&B, the raw energy of Eminem, the smooth mechanics of Usher, and the explosive rise of Big Bang and K-pop. In 2009, inside his high school bedroom using a cheap microphone and primitive software, Tung and his classmates formed an underground collective called the Over Band. They began uploading raw, unpolished tracks to independent underground music websites like Lady Killa. He adopted a simple, rough stage name, M-TP. It was a clumsy acronym standing for Mr. Tung Pin, a nickname given by his internet peers. To the local rap scene, this teenager from a quiet northern province was a revelation. His flow was erratic but melodic. His hooks were impossibly sticky. In 2010, he was invited to join the Young Pilots, a prominent regional hip-hop group. They traveled across Thai Binh, performing in cramped, low-budget local venues for screaming teenagers. Tung was living a double life, a quiet, obedient student by day and an underground internet sensation by night. He was standing at the edge of a cliff, looking toward the sprawling metropolis of Saigon, knowing that to jump meant defying the parents he loved, but to stay meant suffocating his own soul. In 2011, the underground digital dam burst. Tung wrote a song in his bedroom called Con Moi Ngang Qua, The Passing Rain. He uploaded it to an independent music site, thinking nothing of it. Within weeks, the track didn't just go viral. It became an absolute epidemic. It swept through every high school, every coffee shop, and every smartphone in Vietnam. It racked up millions of streams almost overnight, completely bypassing the traditional gatekeepers of the Vietnamese music industry. A teenager from Thai Binh had suddenly achieved what major record labels spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to manufacture. Realizing his destiny was calling from the south, Tung packed his bags and moved to Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon, the glittering, chaotic economic engine of Vietnam. He auditioned for the Ho Chi Minh City Conservatory of Music, one of the most prestigious and conservative classical institutions in the country. He had only a few days to prepare, yet he passed the entrance exam as the valedictorian of his class. By late 2012, the professional industry came knocking. He signed a 5-year contract with Vun Production, and under the guidance of music director Huy Tuan, he added a prefix to his name. He became Sơn Tùng M-TP. Sơn Tùng, meaning a mountain pine tree that stands strong against the brutal winter winds. It was a prophetic name because the winter storms were coming. In 2013, he released Em Qua Ngay Hôm Qua, Yesterday's Girl. If his first song was an explosion, this was a cultural shift. The track obliterated music charts, its music video garnering unprecedented views on YouTube. Sơn Tùng was suddenly everywhere. His face was on billboards. His distinct hypermodern style was being emulated by millions of Vietnamese youths. He was heralded as the Prince of V-pop, the savior who would modernize the country's sound. But with meteoric fame came a dark, predatory backlash. The traditional establishment and rival fan bases looked at this 19-year-old outsider with immense cynicism. They began dissecting his music, accusing him of plagiarism, pointing out similarities between his beats and underground K-pop or J-pop tracks. The media weaponized these accusations. Every day, news articles debated his artistic integrity, questioning whether he was a genuine genius or merely a clever copycat. The psychological toll on a teenager living alone in Saigon was devastating. He was locked in scheduling conflicts with his management company, trapped in restrictive contracts, and banned from performing for months at a time due to internal disputes. He was a prisoner of his own success. In July of 2012, he had even tried out for Vietnam Idol, only to be eliminated in the very first round by judges who couldn't see the future standing right in front of them. Now, he was the biggest star in the country, yet he was surrounded by lawsuits, public vitriol, and an overwhelming sense of isolation. He realized that the music industry wasn't a playground. It was a gladiator arena, and he was standing in the center without armor. Trapped in a corner, Sơn Tùng did what all true visionaries do. He pivoted into an entirely new medium. In late 2014, acclaimed director Quang Huy cast him as the lead actor in the feature film Dandelion, Chang Tri Nam A, a movie loosely based on the tragic life of the late Vietnamese singer Van Bi Tuan An. It was a massive gamble. The public expected a wooden, vanity performance from a pop star. Instead, Sơn Tùng poured his raw, real-life isolation into the role. His performance was vulnerable, haunting, and deeply emotional. He didn't just carry the movie, he won the prestigious Golden Kite Prize for Young Prominent Actor. For the film's soundtrack, he wrote Chắc Ai Jo Se Ve. But even this moment of triumph was marred by controversy, as the song was temporarily banned and forced to undergo a beat rearrangement due to further copyright disputes. The endless battles with corporate entities and old-world gatekeepers reached a breaking point. Sơn Tùng realized that as long as he belonged to someone else's label, he would always be a puppet whose strings could be pulled by lawyers and executives. In late 2016, at the age of 22, he made the ultimate declaration of independence. He terminated his relationships with his management companies and founded his own independent record label, M-TP Entertainment. He was no longer just an artist on a roster. He was now the CEO of his own empire. He held absolute creative control over his master tapes, his visuals, his distribution, and his destiny. To celebrate this freedom, on January 1, 2017, at exactly midnight, he released Lak Troi, Lost in the Flow, under his new label. It was a radical, shocking departure from anything he had done before. He blended modern future bass and electronic trap music with traditional Vietnamese instruments, adopting a historical, ethereal, wuxia-inspired visual style in the music video. The country gasped. It was a masterpiece of cultural synthesis. The video gained over 5 million views in less than 24 hours, landing him on global trending charts. He followed it immediately with Noi Nai Ko An, Here With You, a sweeping romantic pop ballad that proved he could dominate the mainstream just as easily as he could push experimental boundaries. He published his autobiography, Cham Toi Giak Mo, Reaching the Dream, at just 23 years old. He had systematically silenced every critic who called him a temporary fad. He had proven that his independent label wasn't a reckless mistake. It was the foundation for a new era of Vietnamese pop culture. By 2018, Sơn Tùng M-TP had conquered Vietnam. There were no mountains left to climb domestically. Every single he dropped automatically went to number 1. His fan base, known collectively as Sky, had grown into a massive, fiercely loyal digital army capable of shifting internet trends at a moment's notice. But his vision was extending far beyond the borders of Southeast Asia. He wanted V-pop to be recognized globally, the same way K-pop or Latin music had broken through the Western consciousness. In May of 2018, he released Chay, Ngay, Run Now, a dark, sophisticated hip-hop and trap track. The music video featured prominent Thai actress Davika Horn, signaling his intent to dominate the broader Asian market. The video broke Continental records, racking up an astonishing 17.6 million views in its first 24 hours, eclipsing several major K-pop releases at the time. Then came 2019, the year he executed the most audacious crossover in the history of Vietnamese entertainment. Sơn Tùng flew to Los Angeles. Rumors swirled through the internet like wildfire. On July 1, 2019, he dropped Hey Trao Cho An, Give It to Me. When the video played, audiences worldwide were stunned to see American rap legend Snoop Dogg stepping onto the screen, dropping a customized verse alongside Sơn Tùng, while American singer Madison starred as the leading lady. The track was a global juggernaut. It blended tropical house, reggaeton, and Vietnamese lyricism into a seamless, high-gloss international banger. It broke the 24-hour record for Vietnamese music videos with an earth-shattering 25.8 million views on its first day. For the first time in history, a Vietnamese artist entered the Billboard Social 50 chart, landing comfortably at number 28. Later that summer, he embarked on the Sky Tour, a massive, state-of-the-art nationwide concert series. It wasn't just a series of shows. It was a victory lap. The entire production was chronicled in the documentary film, Sơn Tùng M-TP, Sky Tour Movie. Debuting in theaters in June of 2020, it became Vietnam's very first musical documentary, grossing immense numbers within days despite a complex cinematic market. Soon after, Netflix acquired the global distribution rights, streaming his face, his music, and his sweat into millions of homes across more than 190 countries. The boy who used to sing into a cheap $20 microphone in a small northern town was now a global commodity, validated by the biggest media platforms on Earth. When you reach the absolute apex of stardom, the air becomes incredibly thin. By the 2020s, Sơn Tùng M-TP had entered a new phase of his life, one defined not by the frantic hunger of youth, but by the heavy, complicated sovereignty of an established king. In late 2020, he released Ko Chak Yu La Jai, and began teasing a massive creative project titled Chung Ta, Us, releasing the cinematic ballad Chung Ta Qua Hien Tai. The release drew close to 1 million concurrent viewers on YouTube, setting international premiere benchmarks. He became the first Vietnamese artist to collaborate with global tech and gaming giants, designing an official in-game character named Skyler for the massive battle royale game Garena Free Fire, complete with his own customized theme song. But with this absolute monopoly on attention came an increasingly intense public scrutiny. His personal life, which he had guarded with a fierce, absolute silence, became the subject of relentless tabloid obsession. Every business decision, every departure of talent from his label M-TP Entertainment, and every prolonged absence from the public eye was treated as a national crisis by the Vietnamese media. In 2022, he attempted his most radical artistic experiment yet. There's No One at All, his very first track sung entirely in English. The music video was a dark, gritty, psychological character study of an abandoned, deeply troubled youth lashing out against a hostile society. It was raw, aggressive, and a massive departure from his polished pop persona. But the visual themes proved too intense for the conservative regulatory bodies of Vietnam. Amidst a wave of public controversy, the government ordered the video to be pulled down and banned within the country, issuing a heavy fine to his company. It was a stark, brutal reminder that even at the height of his power, he was still operating within a system that demanded conformity. But a pine tree does not break in the winter wind. Sun Tung quietly accepted the setback, returned to his studio, and launched the Sky Decade project, a multi-year celebration of his 10-year anniversary in the music industry. He followed it with international English tracks like Making My Way, proving that his ambition to break into the Western mainstream was completely undiminished. Look at his legacy today. He is no longer just a pop star. He is a living institution. His younger brother, Nguyen Viet Hoang, has recently entered the industry under the stage name Mono, immediately taking the country by storm and proving that the musical DNA of that modest household in Thai Binh is truly extraordinary. Sun Tung himself has been embraced by the highest echelons of global fashion, named an official friend of the house by Gucci, his sharp, enigmatic presence gracing front rows from Milan to Paris. He is a man who built a castle out of the bricks his critics threw at him. He remains intensely private, an enigma who disappears for months at a time, only to return and completely paralyze the cultural conversation with a single note. He is demanding, meticulous, and completely unyielding in his pursuit of perfection. He proved to a generation of young Vietnamese creators that you do not need to change your name, your heritage, or your soul to command the attention of the world. As he stands in his high-rise office overlooking the glowing skyline of Saigon, looking out over an empire built entirely on his own terms, one thing is absolute. Sun Tung M-TP did not just join the history of V-pop, he became it. That's all from Mango. Thanks for watching. If you loved this deep dive into the incredible, record-breaking journey of Sun Tung M-TP, make sure to hit that like button, leave a comment about your favorite song of his, and subscribe to the channel for more epic stories of the icons shaping global pop culture. See you next time. Bye.